Welcome to No Small Roles, the show where I speak with fellow actors about their careers and about some of those smaller roles in big movies and how those small roles are, in fact, not small at all to the actors who play them. Our guest today is the amazing Celeste Oliva, one of the hardest working, most successful actors that I know. Celeste, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Ian. That's quite an introduction, and I like the theme song.
Oh, thank you. That Joe, our producer, came up with that. Now, I just want to, before we delve in, I want to say, you all know Celeste from a million things. She has over 60 plus credits on IMDb, including Gone Baby Gone, Mystic River, Edge of Darkness, Don't Look Up, American Fiction, Finest Kind, Exorcist Believer, the recent Salem's Lot, and tons of other credits, including TV, NCIS Hawaii, We Own This City, Julia, Grey's Anatomy, Law and Order, Blue Bloods, the list goes on. Check her out on IMDb. Now, Celeste, I need to ask you a very important question.
Okay,
Are you comfortable with this?
I'm comfortable.
Okay, grilled cheese with or without tomato?
With
With.
yeah,
Always?
well, no, not always, but I mean,
I don't mean to question your answer, but
no,
always?
that's. I love that this question is a question. No, I like grilled cheese with tomato.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would be with tomato in some form, either tomato soup or ketchup. Or
We did that last night.
you
Oh,
did?
grilled cheese, dunking it in the tomato
Oh,
soup. Oh, it's so good.
it's like having like biscotti with coffee. I mean, it has to.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Or Oreo with coffee, like a double stuffed Oreo.
Yeah, the Oreo biscotti.
Well, fancy cheese or not fancy cheese? I don't mean to drag this on, but come on.
You mean in a grilled cheese?
In a grilled cheese, is it just like an American cheese or
I
a
kinda like a little bit of fancy cheese, and
okay.
there's also a little trick I learned from Roxy's. Do you know Roxy's, the restaurant?
I don't.
Apparently, they use mayonnaise to grill their cheese, and when you use
Oh,
I know, it adds a little layer of something different. I don't eat a lot of grilled cheeses, but
I put mustard.
you
I
do?
do. It's so good. My grandmother did it, and now I can't stop. Lots of butter and lots of mustard.
It's
But
so funny.
boring cheese. Okay, now
Okay,
enough about that.
enough about cheese.
So you are an actor. Why in the world are you in this business? Why? You've done theater and film, TV. How did you end up here?
I think because I failed at, like, most everything else that I tried, like,
I
I
hear you.
really tried. Listen, I am the daughter of a scientist and an accountant. I mean, they did not expect, like,
Were
this.
they disappointed? I mean, not to say they should be.
No, 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 they were not. Like, I remember when I told my mom, "I think I'm gonna try to be an actor," she goes, "I was wondering when you were gonna say that." And I thought it was the most lovely response a parent could give, like,
Yeah.
because I kept trying to go into business and, like, go into it like it was terrible. Like, I couldn't. My admin skills are really terrible.
You play it convincingly on screen, just so you know. I believe it when you're a business person.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think when something is given to me, but I think as a creative, and that was always kind of apparent.
Mhm.
I could have probably done a couple of different things. Like, I've always been interested in sculpture, and that still sort of haunts me. Um,
Do you
but
still
I
do that at all? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you still do sculpting at all?
So I do weird forms of sculpting, but I guess they would be considered it. I've never studied it formally, but
Mhm.
I make things. I make certain structures. So,
Like
and then
children?
I've always built things. So, yeah, I have. I've made like well, one year when I was doing off Broadway and I was staying in a place, they were like, "Look, you can stay for free if you can clean it," and it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
I think
so
I know this story.
yeah. And I found these pads of paper and I just started putting them together. And I would make these teardrop shapes with them and there was glue and tape
Yeah.
and so suddenly I had made this sort of mobile and it kind of took the shape of a dragon. So
Oh, cool.
so probably more stuff like that you would see maybe in like a window, like a display or something like that.
Okay. Do you still
But
have that? The dragon?
No, 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 that
Oh.
stayed with that. But I will say, so the reason that I became an actor was when I finally decided to indulge in it. It was horrible, but it felt like putting on clothing that you'd had forever. And so I was like, okay, there's something to this.
What do you mean it was horrible?
I think that I thought I was trying to do what people thought of acting rather than just being an actor. And then when I finally took, I was an adult. It was I had already graduated college,
Mhm.
and I decided, let me try to take this one class. And my friend sort of dragged me to this one class, and it was with a casting director. And that casting director called me in the next day, and she's like, "No, don't do that thing. Do the other thing that you always do." And I was like, "What other thing that I always do?" She goes, "What you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I went to acting school and sort of studied. It wasn't really a great school. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie. It was one of these ones where they were trying to get it off the ground. And I think, we were probably one of like,
Like this show.
yeah, like this
Woo!
show. No, but that's the same fate will not happen.
Wait, one step back though. What was that thing that the casting director said that you were doing? Just acting natural and being yourself?
Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And like, and I don't know, that's a whole different topic, but there was I grew up in a world, and this doesn't need to be political, but I grew up in a world where basically most of the role models on television, none of them looked like me, none of them, whatever. So I just didn't know where I fit in. And
I know how you feel. I'm kidding.
yeah, so I think that, her finding value in me was really, it so few people had found value in that I could do something. Like normally it was, okay, I'm going to be a business person. And
Mhm.
they're like, you might want to, you might want to find something else, But like when I was a newscaster, when I was a DJ, like that kind of stuff, very brief careers, but those felt better, but nothing felt quite right. And acting felt right to
Because
me.
it was very little representation, and any representation there was were stereotypes, right?
Yeah. And then also, I happened to hit it at a time. Well, first of all, the casting director was lovely, and she was like, "Why don't you do this thing?" And there were these things called industrials, and I did so many industrials because I was hitting three things that the industry needed at the time.
Mhm.
I was female, and I was a minority.
Which you are still both of those things.
Both of those things, but like, so I would do a lot of these training videos for companies like biotech companies or tech companies,
It's how I met
and
you.
yeah, and so I mean, a lot of like, or just like 401k plans for Fidelity or something, whatever. I would walk them through, and I got a lot of training there. So that's what that was, and then I wanted to explore it further. And the further I explored acting, the more I realized, yeah, this is it. So my mother was like, she was not surprised, So she was like, yeah, I was wondering when you were going to find it.
Was stage the first step, or stage something you came back to, like, and discovered later?
Stage is something I discovered later. The myth is that it was theater, but it
Yeah,
wasn't theater that sort of launched me. It was actually sort of a backwards thing, and
okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I had done like little plays and stuff in school, but it always seemed like those people were kind of different than me, and I didn't understand where did this vast knowledge of these plays come from with them. And it's because they
Yeah,
had gone to theater camps. They had gone to I never did anything like that. I was like, you know, I was just a kid. And also, like, I grew up mostly on the West Coast, and
mhm,
East Coast was a totally different sort of upbringing on how people looked at what their kids did during the summer and that
yeah,
kind of stuff. We didn't have camp. I mean, if we did, it was like, track camp. It
yeah,
was sports. So
which is valid. Those are valid camps.
totally, but I didn't understand like where, and also you have to understand my parents they were not artists, so they didn't
Yeah,
understand, oh, there's whole vast, communities of people that can actually help your daughter learn things that she wants to learn. So it was kind of like it felt a bit like finding your way through a maze.
I feel like I had the opposite upbringing where my whole family is artists and film and theater people, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna be a part of that." And I snuck in. So it's funny how we both ended up there, but which goes to show there are different paths that people take
Totally.
and to end up here, and not necessarily by choice, or is maybe the only way we know how to make money, which that's my case.
Well, so is it so in your case, what was it that seemed to be such a like, I don't wanna do that? What was it about it that you're like, "Ugh, I don't wanna do that?"
I think I'm an extroverted introvert. I hate being in front of people. I think that's still a part of it. And yeah, like stage, oh my God, I don't know how my brother does that. So I think that's why I was very resistant. And I was like, oh no, I want to just watch movies and make movies, but not be in them. But that has changed.
Clearly. But I think it's you probably got a lot of knowledge through osmosis just by being around and, like,
Watching rehearsals, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
hearing it. It's like I see a friend of mine has a daughter, and he runs a well, two of my friends are artistic directors of theater companies, and
Mhm.
their kids have sort of grown up in the theater, and then you watch their children act versus a person their parents are doctors or whatever,
Yeah.
and there's a vast difference. So,
I
yeah.
think it's why theater makes me sleepy when I go to a play now is because I
Mhm.
remember falling asleep to when my mom was directing rehearsals.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when I get in a echoey theater, I'm just like, so no
Yeah.
offense to stage people.
No, 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 no.
Sorry,
No,
Celeste.
but once I did do stage, I will say there was that, and I was in a so I had done just very few, not commercial productions, and then I was in a commercial production, and that's when I understood that being in that position was like being an athlete, because it didn't matter if you wanted to do it. Sometimes it wasn't even about the art. It was just like, get this train out of the station and you have to get to curtain. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was a play called Sheer Madness, and I was like, wow, this
You
is a lot.
you did it for years, right?
Years. It was one of my first really big professional theater productions, and I couldn't buy my way into other professional theaters in the area,
Yeah.
and so I stayed there for years. But you did 8 shows a week, sometimes 9, sometimes 11 during like holiday seasons and stuff like that, and you become a machine. You find different ways. So that's what added to my.
Different ways to keep it interesting for you?
Yes,
Okay,
and also because we were part of a rotating cast, and so you would have
okay.
to, like, anyway, bounce off of different, people, and so it was really a really good training ground there as well.
And
So,
you were making a living as an actor, regular pay. That's
yeah,
incredible. And
yeah,
you are a mom.
yeah.
Were you a mom at the very same time as doing the show?
I actually, but I think I was not, and then I got pregnant during the show. Yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I took a little bit of time off. Like when I say a little, I mean 11 years.
Yeah.
um, and then I came back to it. And, by happenstance, as I said, there was many,
You came
uh,
back to that show?
came back to, so that's
Oh my
in the
god,
same role.
that's
And
incredible.
I know, and then one of the guys that was playing, opposite me was also a director, and
Okay.
he was casting something locally,
Mhm.
and he said, "Hey, why don't you come in for these auditions?" And I was like, "Okay." And then I went in and I ended up getting it. I didn't think I got it. Like, I wouldn't even answer when they called. I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just gonna turn me down," because I thought it was terrible.
Uh-huh.
And, they hired me, and then I ended up on the front page of the paper, and, like,
Oh my god.
it was all, I mean, of the art section for that time,
That
but
totally counts. No,
yeah,
that's
and
huge.
and so then that sort of launched the theater situation,
Okay.
and I was in that for years, and then but I was always doing movies. So movies was where I started, and,
I'm
much
gonna
like.
bring Yeah, I wanna talk about that, but before we jump into that, we have a segment starting today called Today's Kiss and Tell. Now,
Ah!
for the kiss and tell, I just wanna have a teaser from you as to what your kiss and tell will be in one word. So just for an example, I had this story where I was working on this film, an indie film, and there was this actor from a very legendary Hollywood family who was doing this emotional scene. She came off set from doing that scene, and one of the crew members, I believe it was someone in hair and makeup, said, "Would you like a water?" And she replied, "No, I don't want your fucking water." And then she ran off. And we were all like, what? What was that? She just offered water. And then about 10 minutes later, that actor came back and apologized to the
Oh.
wrong person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's an example of a kiss and tell. I didn't mention any names. So in
No.
one word, what will your kiss and tell be about later on in the show?
Oh gosh. Okay. Surprise.
Surprise. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that later. Now, Celeste,
Yeah.
you obviously, as we've talked, you've done theater, you've done a lot of film and a lot of TV. I want to start with a film that was really huge that, of course, you've had large roles, but this is one of the smaller ones you had, but in a early big film. I'm going to show a clip from.
We're all done over there, Sean, but I can stick around if you need anything.
Oh, no, I think we're good, thanks.
A few of us are going to the Cantab after.
Oh, no, I don't think so, Jen. Thanks. Thanks anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, how inappropriate is Lawrence Fishburne checking you out as you walk away?
I know. And then I think the next line is she wants to bed you, not wed you.
Oh, man.
I know. So like that film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that the first, or was Gone Baby Gone before that?
Gone Baby Gone was after. But
After that, okay.
I will tell you the story of this film. So I had been in a couple of films, but they were like, do you remember PAX, the channel PAX?
Oh, yes, I do actually. Yeah.
So I had done made for TV movies and then for these like that. And I remember getting a call. The whole thing was strange. First of all, it's just back in the days, 1,002 years ago when we had answering machines. And I almost didn't get the call asking for me to come in and read.
Okay.
Part. And so of course I go in and I read. And as soon as I show up, I'm like, okay, first of all, it's not at the casting director's regular office. It's in a downtown area. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I walked in and I didn't see this. You didn't get the scripts beforehand then. And the name of the character was Trooper Jenny Coughlin. And I was like, okay, I don't look like.
I'm not Jenny Coughlin.
Yeah, right. And then I went in and I read it. And I think, again, my demeanor was like, well, whatever, but I'm here. So I guess I'll just do it.
Yeah.
Which can help, I think, sometimes, because now you're not so nervous.
You're kind of resigned to not getting it, but you're like, they called me in. I might as well show them what I can do.
Yeah. So then I leave and whatever, and I was getting my car repaired. This is so follow getting my car repaired, but it's the entire engine. So I have to go through my friend whose cousin can do it, but it's in Connecticut. So I have to get my car towed to Connecticut. Now I'm waiting at her friend's aunt's house.
Okay.
The mom of the guy who's fixing my car.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just sitting there chatting, whatever. Engine's getting repaired. And I get on my pager, a number call.
Pager.
Pager, right. And so I was like, can I use your phone? I think it's long distance. I mean, none of this even qualifies anymore.
I know, it's crazy.
So it's the casting director, and she's telling me that I got this role.
Question, is it the same casting director that you spoke about earlier that believed in you? Do you want to say that name or not?
It was Carolyn Pickman from college.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so Carolyn is on the phone with me and she says, we would like you to play the role of Trooper Jenny Coughlin in Mystic River. And I was like, what? Now, this is why this story is weird.
Yeah.
Because the woman's house who I was at, her son is really good friends with Dennis Lehane, who is the author of Mystic River.
Oh my God.
I mean, and I don't mean just they are really good friends.
So nepotism. I'm kidding.
It was so weird. Even though, of course, Clint Eastwood had nothing to do with. I mean, I don't think that they were talking like Dennis.
Yeah.
So it was lovely. And I do remember asking Clint Eastwood when I got to set, like, why did you choose me? And he didn't, he chose me off the tape. There was no callback. And he goes, well, if you could do it
Wow.
on the tape, I was confident that you could do it for me.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, wow. So I had a really great time on set. Um, there was just so many things I learned on that set in particular. Like there was another guy called Handcuff Man that was in the
Okay.
same scene. And he goes, Clint, do you want me to like keep saying it? Cause I just say it once. And so he was a real collaborator. And
Yeah.
that was where I saw it. I watched Kevin Bacon. I loved how Kevin Bacon sort of introduced himself to me and just
That helps so much.
oh my gosh, he was
Yeah.
so decent and so lovely. And his wife was on set and his kids were on set. And
Wow.
um, so it was a really lovely experience for me.
What was it? I mean, I sometimes feel in some of these smaller roles, when you arrive on set, it's like arriving at a stranger's Thanksgiving dinner, and you sit down at their table and you have to act comfortable, like you belong there. Did you, do you have that? Did you feel nervous at all? Or how did you approach that knowing this is Clint Eastwood and it's Kevin Bacon? Was that weird for you, or you look as comfortable as can be in that scene?
It's so funny because I think youth has its value in that situation. But I have to. Okay, so let me bring up a little bit more of my past.
Yeah.
At one point, my stepfather was military, and we were stationed in Fort Ord, California.
Okay.
And near Fort Ord is Carmel. And this is when Clint Eastwood was the mayor and also had his restaurant in Carmel, California, which we had been to. Not that we knew him or anything, but like
Yeah.
I remember he actually carded my mother thinking she was too young to drink. And I was like, I'm her daughter. Like, wait a minute. Anyway, um, so there was I wasn't nervous. And then there was this big deal about, I don't think we could do it these days, but there was a big deal about the size of the front of me. And so they did all these things to sort of puff it up and like all this. And then, of course, what do? They throw a jacket on me, which sent me into hysterics. So, like,
'Cause it didn't matter.
I mean, I
And
was,
the angle's all up here. It's like,
and then I felt really like my hair was pulled back, and so I was like, whatever. I was just like, I was a kid in a sandbox, and I think the newness of it all. I was not. I don't remember myself being particularly nervous,
Mhm.
and the restriction of the uniform and the boots and everything like that, and no, I wasn't.
Good.
Now I do feel sometimes like when I show up to set, particularly in television, where
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm a guest at a
'Cause they've been
Thanksgiving.
going for years and you hop in there, you're like, "Hi." And sometimes they don't say, "Hey, welcome to set." They just it's weird to do a scene with someone that has not introduced themselves, which I've run into a few times. I'm like,
Yes.
"Say hi to
Yes.
me at least."
Yeah, and I will say that has happened.
Yeah. It feels a little icky, in my opinion.
A lot icky.
Yeah. Um, how, what was so I hear that Clint Eastwood, he works very fast
Oh, yeah.
on set. How many takes did you do of that scene? Was it just bam, bam, you're out of there, or what?
Well, so in the middle of so we shot this in a on location, and it was in a
Yeah.
place, it was a bridge. It's a toll bridge, actually,
Is it
and
the Tobin Bridge?
it is the Tobin.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
but what is funny about this is, like, there's I mean, I can only imagine being a passenger, like, in a car, like, you're in your car, and,
Well, it
like,
wasn't closed down. Cars were still passing?
right, well, yes, and so
Wow.
here's the thing, there was, like, a couple lanes that were shut down for us, but it's like a 4-lane bridge or something, but here's what I kept thinking. So you're sitting there in your car, and this is back in the day, they didn't have, like, the drive-through tolls, you still had to, like, throw the money in or, like,
Yeah,
you would
in
go
the
to the person
basket.
in the booth. Yeah,
Yeah.
or go to the person in the booth. So now you're waiting, you're all mad because it's, like, traffic and whatever, and all of a sudden you see, like, Kevin Bacon.
Clint Eastwood.
You're like, "Is that Kevin Bacon?" And all of a sudden, "That's Lawrence Fishburne." I was like, "Wait a minute," and, like, all the stores keep going, and then all of a sudden there's, like, Clint Eastwood, like, what does that look like to the person who's in the car? So, we were up there and we shot a couple times. He's very fast. He's also very quiet.
Yeah.
He doesn't say like action or what. He says go and he says stop.
That's
And
great.
he's also incredibly actor focused,
Mhm.
meaning if this is going to distract you, if this is going, don't do it. You
That's
do what
awesome.
you do because I liked what you did and I trust you and I want you to trust yourself. It
Wow.
was a real testament to me at such a young age that this is a collaborative process where I get to, I get to feel my feels. I get to like rather than someone
Yeah.
like just hit your mark and like that kind of stuff.
Exactly, which is more TV, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're there. We take a couple takes and something. Now he works with the same people all the time too. So they were like, so you could tell something was going on. And I guess what it was the flags that were flying. There it is. The flag. See that pole right behind me?
Yeah.
I think that might have been one of the flag poles. And what they had to do is they had to call someone to
Okay.
come and take the flag down because it was thwacking against
Uh-oh.
and making this tinny sound.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So there was a big long break in there where I was talking with Lawrence Fishburne and Kevin Bacon and
Mhm.
Kevin Bacon's kids. And so we're just kind of hanging out. But then once we got up and rolling again, I was amazed at how smoothly that it all went. I
Yeah.
mean, I was called at probably like 5:30 or 6, and then I was done by noon.
And it lives on forever. Isn't that amazing? You do that thing, it's there. Is this one of those projects where everyone's like, did I see you in that? Were you in that? Because this movie was huge. I think did it win Best Picture? It was up for Best Picture.
It won best something because I remember watching the Academy Awards that year and they used that scene.
No way.
I was like, wait a
That's
minute.
so cool. So I knew you before I knew you.
Yeah, and I will say that some people after meeting me go like, "Oh yeah," they'll remember the scene because I was the girl that was constantly always trying to get Kevin Bacon. So yeah,
Okay.
it was a lovely, lovely experience. I think I never at that time, and there was certainly nothing around in Boston at that time where you
Yeah.
do stuff like that. I felt really, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And you got this as a local to Boston.
I got it as a local to Boston. I did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. This is now. Don't forget, Carolyn Pickman was responsible for Matt Damon and Ben Affleck getting their first roles as well. So they're local to Boston, and
Yeah.
she knew her stuff, and I think that because of that, the industry did as well. They
She's
were
one
like,
of the most grounded, kind, thoughtful casting directors I've met. She's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, she really knows her stuff for sure. Yeah.
Is this one of those roles? Because I mean, when you meet people, they're like, "Oh, you're an actor. Have I seen you in anything? Would I know you from something?" Like usually, I'm like, "I don't know what you watch. Maybe is this the one you would mention, Mystic River, because everyone saw it, or
Yeah, and it still actually gets mentioned, which is funny because it's so old in if you look at
you
my
were
work.
9 years old when you filmed this
Yeah,
too?
I was, yes,
Yeah,
yes. And I think that, but because it's recognizable. So yeah, even like what I ended up living and raising my kids up in the Boston area, and people would be like, "Oh, well, like you, do I know you?" And I'm like, "Well,
I don't know.
I'll get to that question in a minute." But I'd be like, "Yeah, I've been in stuff like Mystic River, and and they're like, what?" And like Gone Baby Gone, Gone Baby Gone. I'm barely in. It's like I'm on a television in the background that Casey Affleck is watching, but
Okay.
regardless. So yeah, it was one of those ones that I had no idea what it was about. It was around this time too that um, I had gotten interest from an agency down in New York,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, a whole different story about stuff that you don't when you listen to the demons in your head versus like where the universe is trying to send you. You kind of end up making a detour.
Yeah. Did this experience bring was this helpful to your career to have this role? Because I know it's really hard to get an agent if you don't have footage to get that agent, but it's really hard to get an audition if you don't have the agent. Was having this helpful to you?
I don't think back then, what was helpful to me, I think, if I'm honest, was I was young and I was not, I mean, I looked different than most people
Yeah.
and I was learning. Carol and I had so many conversations. I mean, that I didn't even know at the time what she was actually trying to do. Do you know what I mean? Where she was
Yeah.
actually trying to encourage um, me to keep going with this. And so she would call me in for most everything. Like, and I had dropped out for a while of
Yeah.
acting because I was like, I didn't know. I was like, it's always going to be these industrials, or I didn't know what I was going to do. I wanted to be a newscaster. And
And
anyway,
for anyone that doesn't know, industrials are the hardest work. They are so hard.
but so
Oh,
it's like,
it's awful.
it's yeah, it's like if you were a doctor, it's like residency. You know what I mean? There's no sleep. You're constantly under pressure like that. Yeah.
But with less pay and respect.
Totally less pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting that I learned so much. I learned how to memorize incredibly fast from that. I learned how to like do the teleprompter. I learned ear prompter.
The worst dialogue too, the most unnatural dialogue.
Yeah, where you like they bring in people from like especially because I was doing a lot of medical stuff at the time and
Yeah.
also a lot of financial stuff at the time. So they would bring in these medical professionals on how to say things. Like if they couldn't say them, they're like, we never say these words. We only use the acronym. But there I was trying to say like, well, unfortunately, what we found is that the flippity jibbity hobbity shibbity hobbity is
Lord.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
For up and coming actors, is there any advice that you would have, whether it be how you got to the next step, or I mean, how you've gotten to where you are? I mean, I know from my experience, there is no path. People ask me, I'm like, it kind of randomly happened. This happened, then that happened. Do you have any advice for someone trying to get ahead in the business?
don't doubt it. Don't doubt that this is what you want to do, and try to get yourself into a community of people who are doing it.
Okay.
I mean, because it is like what you're saying. There is no one path, and a lot of people can hit it out of the gates. They're on a project. They happen to really like their scene partner. Their scene partner goes someplace, and all of a sudden they're going off with them, because they also are a writer or something, whatever it is. Or they just, we both know someone, Ian, that is young, attractive, very in really good shape, and has the potential to go.
Like me.
Yeah, it's you actually.
Yeah, I know.
It has the potential to go, very far. And I think that I don't want to say that if you're older, you can't get into this, but I mean, youth is on your side because there's so much to learn. And the more that or the earlier you start, the better off you'll be. Now, that said, acting is one of those things that doesn't have a time limit.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in and you're 40, if you want to get in and you're 65, there possibly will be a role for you. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think, but my advice would be, watch a lot of movies, read a lot of plays, read a lot of books, get involved in a community, and stay open to what you think acting is, so that you can go in I know people who started in film and only do theater now. Like that kind of stuff. So.
And observe people, kind of soak in what you see in real life. Do you think doing indie projects, because I saw a post on Facebook today from someone, in the indie world saying, don't do projects that aren't paid, don't do something for IMDb credit. But in my opinion, there's a place to start. If you want to get some footage, someone doesn't have money, but they want to make something. I don't think there's anything wrong with creating to get some footage. You got to start somewhere. What do you think of that?
I think there's nothing wrong with indies. I think there's nothing. This is where I think that one really needs to listen to themselves and not listen to others. Like some indie. I mean, think of the Blair Witch Project. You know what I mean? Where they're like got a flashlight, and nobody knew that was going to go as far as it did. And I think that we're always being surprised by what is the catalyst, or what was the vehicle that someone took into the business. It's like, okay, you worked on Julia, I worked on Julia. Julia is about Julia Child's life, where people are like, everyone's like, well, we know better because nobody's going to want to watch a 40-year-old woman cooking on television. I mean, this is ridiculous. And then, I mean, it became one of the most successful things. We don't know. And I think that
Yeah.
for sure, that's where social media, like people who have YouTube channels, et cetera, they're kind of leveling the playing field in that arena. And I think that kind of like fashion's done this for years, where they copy what street fashion is and they just sort of sell it at a much higher price, and they do it on a different kind of scale. Um, I think a lot of times, especially now, and the industry keeps changing, is
Mhm.
that we don't know what kinds of projects will catch fire, and none of us who are alive can know what is appealing to mass audiences if we are not a part of that audience. Like,
Yeah.
if you're in your 30s, you don't know what appeals to a 60-year-old. If you're 60, you don't know what appeals to like what a 12-year
Mhm.
old watching. I mean, even if you look at like how children's television has sort of developed, and so I would say for footage, if it feels right to you and you don't feel like you're compromising yourself in any
Yeah.
way, or that you will be compromised, or that it's unsafe, or like at all of those parameters.
Trust your gut.
Yeah, trust your gut. And if you really like this project, do it, because likely you will get something out of it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will say is make sure you stay on these people to get your
The
footage.
footage. Absolutely. That's a big.
How I used to show up to and somebody gave me this tip. I didn't come up with it, but they said when you go to do this is going to show how old I am. When you go to do an industrial, bring your tape.
Are you talking about talkies now?
Yeah, I'm talking about talkies.
Okay.
But so especially if it was like an industrial that had characters in it, rather than just spokesperson, because I did a lot of spokesperson work.
Sure.
Uh, I would bring my tape with a self-addressed stamped envelope so they could download my stuff. They could copy my stuff onto this tape and have it sent to me so that I
That's
can have
brilliant.
something to piece together. But so
Mhm.
just make sure that you get the footage. Like that's really, really, really important. Get some stills,
Mhm.
you know, that kind of stuff that sort of sexies up your image or whatever it is that you're trying to
Package. Yeah.
package. Yes.
And it's a way to build connections. You never know what person's gonna go to the next place and think of you because you were professional and kind. Always be kind, of course, on set.
Always be kind.
So I'm talking to you, Celeste. Be
Yeah.
nice,
Oh, sorry.
right? Now, do you have any, I don't mean to take too much of your time, but do you
No.
have any hocus pocus before you go on set? Something you do to get in the zone or relax? Do you pray to the gods or whatever, the demons? What do you, is there anything you do?
There's nothing that I've ever done consistently. I used to do before I went on for theater. I would do the Jack Lemmon line, which is let's go make some magic.
Oh,
But because I feel like acting with other people is an alchemic process. It's like
mhm.
we're making something together. But what have I journal a lot. I journal mostly every day, and suddenly I was like, I realized, oh, it's the more prepared I am. Like if I've read this script, I like to read scripts a lot before I
Mhm.
go on, so that I know what's going on
Sure.
and I know where I'm at. And that's when I'm the most comfortable. So if there's anything, it's maybe prep
Mhm.
and then try to, when I'm in the makeup chair, that's when I'm in the makeup chair, rather than like socializing, I use that time to actually sort of get into my
That's
zone.
good. Which is so hard because you know me, I'm always like, "Hey, hey." So
It's
it's always
also like, I mean, it's not that we're at this point. Well, maybe I'll save it for Kiss and Tell. Maybe that's a story I'll tell for Kiss and Tell.
well, oh, so would the word not be surprise anymore?
No, it will definitely be surprise.
Okay, okay.
Just a
I just wanna
different one.
show, very quickly a few images of you from things. If you could just say a few words about each project that I show. Here's one.
Oh my God, the invention of life. That's Rob Lowe. That's me in vintage clothing.
Nice. How about this one?
Oh wow. Wow, I can't even believe you found that still shot. I barely ended up in that. That was 4 weeks on set for that.
Oh my god. But you get residuals.
Yes.
How about this one?
Oh my gosh. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed working with her.
And how about this one?
Oh my gosh. Yes, shot in a we were so quiet we could barely hear each other.
Okay, so I'm going to show one more clip of your work, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to the kiss and tell. So this is a clip for a film you worked on for, I think, quite a few weeks, and then it actually went back for some reshoots. Here you are in quite a large role in Exorcist Believer.
Hey, listen up. That's what we need to worry about. I know you're all upset. I know you're all stressed. The good news is they left together. Statistically, it's likely your girls are just out being girls. We need to recognize that we all have a common goal here. Let's get your girls home safe.
What was that like? I don't want to go on too long on this, but what was that experience like, being involved in a film where you were integral to the story?
Yeah.
And were there for several days, several weeks? How was that?
It was so much fun. And I don't know that they meant to do this, but everybody that was in the starring roles. So there was Norbert Leo Butz, there was Jennifer Nettles, and then there was Leslie Odom Jr. These were the stars. And in the makeup chair, I just started. There was some song on, so I was singing, and then Jennifer started singing. I was like, "Wow, you have such a beautiful voice." No,
So you were not focused in the makeup chair.
yeah, I was not focused. So then it hits me. They're all Broadway people.
Yeah.
They're all Broadway people. But it was really exciting working on that project because, the director was again, collaborative. He wanted certain things. He was constantly writing. And we didn't know how well or not it was going to work. We were setting it in these really scary places. I loved his team. One of the girls, because it was the two girls that had this situation. One of the girls, it was her very first project. Like, that was incredible to me.
Wow.
Also, I got to work with Ann Dowd, who is legendary in my book, and she was so lovely. And then, not to be like a downer, but my sister unexpectedly passed away during this time,
I'm sorry.
and they could have not have been more supportive, more there for me.
That's
But
great.
as far as the working environment, such professionals, everybody, and I don't know if this is because they were all theater people, but there was always something different that we were bringing. And that particular scene that you showed, that particular clip.
Yeah. And it's actually a longer scene. I kind of trimmed it down.
Yeah. Norbert, he scared us all. Like, when he kicked that thing, that was not in the thing. He kicked it and we were like, oh my gosh. Like, and that's when I was like, okay, calm down. And I think that the atmosphere was the right atmosphere. Everybody knew what to bring to that. It was also nerve-wracking because I didn't know which part of my scenes would end up in there. And the way he shot, a lot of times when I'm talking, the focus is on somebody else. And a lot of times when they're talking, the camera would be on me. Do you know, like, it was a choice. So his name is David Gordon Green. I really enjoyed working with him, and I enjoyed working with his team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I lied, though. I think I'm going to have to show a couple more clips of you if you don't mind.
Yeah. Do it.
Am I taking too much of your time? Do you mind?
No, let's go. We're here.
I want to show 2 more clips.
Okay.
I have a million clips of you, but I'm going to show 2 more. Here's one that's lighter, just to show that you're not always like the serious cop. You honestly, you really can do anything. You impress me I mean this sincerely. I'm always impressed by you. You're amazing. But here's a clip from the TV show. I believe that was on Showtime, Smilf.
Hi.
Sorry, is that what I think it is?
Oh, it is. Wow. It is. I know. I'm having problems processing it myself.
I can't believe you brought it in here. I mean, do they have security outside?
Stop.
I've been on a waiting list for like 3 years.
Oh, I know, not me, Roger.
It's so expensive.
Oh, it's gross. It's so gross.
It's really gross.
Yeah, it's obscene. She's obscene.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, she should die.
That's so good. You're so natural in such an unnatural situation.
First of all, that was so fun. Getting that audition. So Frankie Shaw was the director of this. So
she's a creator of the show, right?
Yeah. And she was
Yeah,
directing. Now, it was interesting because we try to do so many things to be natural, right? In in acting. But I remember I did the audition and I was like, it was all right, whatever. And I'm driving away and I get a call. It's the casting director. Hey, Frankie Shaw would like to re-audition you. I was like, okay. Like I wasn't even out of the parking lot. So I came in and she goes, okay. And she like bats things out of my hand. She goes, no, don't do that. She goes, okay, do it again. I was like, okay. And so we're doing it. And then she came in into the frame and she grabbed the bag, my purse. And I was like, anyway, so they sent that footage to me. And so that I could see myself really being surprised in the moment.
That is so cool that they
It was such, first of all, that was a gift because we never really see ourselves and we don't trust enough as actors that it's just there, especially because if you don't have like tons and tons and tons of consecutive hours on a set, it's really difficult to settle in.
Yeah, find your rhythm, exactly.
You know, like when we were on Julia and I was talking with her about it, she was saying to me, she was like, I don't know how you guys do it. You pop in and you pop out, and like, I need my whole world around.
Who's is she? Who are you talking about?
She's our favorite. You do it.
Sarah Lancashire?
Yes.
She
was really, forthright about that. But anyway, back to Frankie. So then I got on set, and then I didn't know that it was going to be with Connie Britton, and it was a lot of fun to shoot that because everybody, first of all, it was in a barn. I love barns and
who doesn't love working in a barn?
Yeah, right. Well, just, I don't know, like brought back some memories for me. And so that was another lesson in just because the way they shot it was just like the audition when she brought me back. There was everyone was just like, if you were feeling it, you were feeling it. And so that's when someone is so into that, like her character was so sort of passive aggressive and, and I'm like, oh no, it's sick. And you're trying to get over it.
Like,
It was so uncomfortable.
When she says she should die and you're like, oh yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
I can feel it. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's really being with somebody. That's really being present in the moment with somebody. And I love that stuff.
Collaborating in a scene. Yeah, you're so good at it. I can't, there's so many clips I want to play. Okay. First we're going to do your kiss and tell. So I'm going to, today's kiss and tell is brought to you by the YouTube show, The Ejectables. Now, Celeste, you said your word is surprise. What is your story?
God, no, I have to choose. Okay.
Meeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Okay, I'll tell the one that I said. Okay.
Don't get yourself in trouble. So
no, I won't. Let's just put it this way. I was on a set of a well, the guy is super, super well known. And it was a big deal. I'd spent many weeks on
what's his name? Just kidding. Don't answer.
And then as I was walking back to, they always have to have someone with you that you're talking or walking back to your trailer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, is that, his wife? And the person walking with me was like, oh, I don't ask. I don't know. And I was like, oh, of course, it's his daughter. And she's like, I don't ask questions. And so then I'm in my trailer. And then the next day I'm standing at the store in grocery, the line at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, on the cover of the Inquirer was the very beginning of this guy's fallout of an affair.
Which you had somewhat witnessed.
Unknowingly, and actually I didn't want to. Because if you think about it, it's like
when did that issue of the Inquirer come out? We'll never know. I was working on this show. It was a TV show that was pretty big, and the producer was this guy that's was also a well-known actor, and he I was in the makeup trailer, and the makeup people are like, oh my God. I got on set and the AD introduced me to him, and he's like, I know, I already met him in the audition. And then this woman came on the set and he was very flirtatious with her. And then the women in the makeup trailer, the hair and makeup people were like, oh my God, he's always doing this with the new women on set. It was so creepy, but it's not about my story.
So wait, but I have one that where I did the faux pas. Okay. So
Let's hear it. Oh, so we know the name. The name is Celeste Oliva.
yeah, this name is Celeste Oliva. Okay, so it was for Invention of Lying, and I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and I know it's Ricky Gervais. Yes, this one. I know it's Ricky Gervais who's doing the thing. So anyway, he comes into the makeup trailer and I freeze. Like, this again. Now this, I was much more comfortable when I was younger. So I was like, I don't know. Should I say something? Should I not say something? Do I talk to them? Do I not talk to them? You know,
Yeah.
you get all messed up. And he was talking with somebody else, and he says, "Oh, hello, Ricky," and I was like, "Nikki."
Oh no. No.
I was like, and he said, Ricky. And
Oh,
I was
that's
like, oh
awkward.
dang.
But
He's
you
like,
knew his name. Didn't you know his name?
I knew his name. It was
Oh.
the craziest thing. It was the craziest thing.
And
I
then you're
mean,
like, oh,
and normally I don't, it's rare that I'm starstruck ever. I'm just,
sure.
it's just not it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more excited by the filmmakers, not the actors, but it's kind of cool to work with these people.
Oh yeah.
We have a scene. Okay, so we did your kiss and tell. God, I'm gonna keep you for 14 hours because you're so good. You're so radiant in this scene, so I wanted to play it. And maybe it's just the lighting. Maybe you actually sucked in this role.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Wait, do I have the
totally
clip?
did.
Oh, maybe I don't have the clip. I lied to you. I was gonna play this because the warmth, you just
Oh.
exude so much warmth. So I'm not gonna play that. I'm gonna play this clip. Another cop thing is from a TV show where you were a recurring role, a character, but you're so good. Especially, I love your delivery of the last line here.
Okay.
Everyone, watch.
Wayne, are you kidding? Is this a joke?
I'm done.
No one is going to be happy about this. Not the colonel, not deputy ops. Wayne, you went on leave 2 months ago. The whole task force went to sleep. Bosses noticed they want you back working.
You know what they say about me down at the courthouse?
Wait.
They talk all this shit, and you know, I put my
Wayne.
head down. I keep on working. You know me.
Who
but
are
I'm
you
just
talking about?
talking about the fucking judges that throw out my cases. I'm talking about.
Wayne, what else is a defense attorney going to say?
What's the fucking point anyway? Look at what's going
Wayne,
on.
you can put in for the transfer. But I'm telling you right now, there's no way we dump you in the warrant squad when your unit is delivering the way that it is. It's not going to happen.
Oh, so good. That's so good. But it's not gonna happen. Oh man.
I loved working with him.
And you recurred in this role. How, I don't want to go on too long, but how amazing was that? I don't mean to assume it was amazing. Maybe it sucked. How was it?
No, it was real. It was surreal actually, because I remember the first my first day on set, we were filming, for those that have seen the series, we were actually filming one of the last scenes. And I hadn't met John yet, but when I was walking, so they got me in a hair and makeup, and then when I was walking down the hall, and people were like this, because I was playing a real live person.
Yeah.
And certain people who had worked with her were on the set, and they're like, but when John saw me, he's like, "What's up, LT?" Which is lieutenant, because I was a lieutenant. And it was lovely. John is one of the most prepared actors I've ever worked with. He will know his lines for tomorrow, today.
That's amazing.
Even though he's working on these lines today, he knows the thread. Again, he's got the benefit, and he said it. I have benefit of being in all the scenes. So,
Sure.
he loved to play with the variation. And so he did this thing, and I was like, oh yes. So we'd finish the scene. They wouldn't cut. He'd go right back to the top of the scene, and we'd go at it, and we'd go at it.
That's great.
We probably did like 6 takes in a row. And then we started going, like, we just started like really playing in this groove. And I just love that. And then we ended up being in the van together when we were getting dropped off at the end of the day. And he's like, I love that. He goes, you never know what you're going to get in television. He said, but I love that you will improv with me and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, John, that was a gift to me. Like, I can't believe I get to do, you do a lot of that in theater. You do a lot of that when you're rehearsing by yourself, but to do it live with someone, and from the creators of, you know who the creators are. So
It's, yeah, The
The
Wire?
Wire. They
Yeah,
did The Wire, yeah. And so that was so much fun. He's an incredibly skilled actor. He
as are you.
thank you. But he had studied as well, and so we were just talking about stuff, and he went into this whole Shakespeare monologue, and I was like, "Dang, John, like you are he's it. He's really, you know what I mean?"
That's really good to hear. And the way having that freedom to kind of play off of someone, we normally, especially in the smaller roles, which this is not, you are not given any freedom. It's like
No.
bam, 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 stay here. Camera's like right here. It's on them. You're not important. This, you got that freedom. You're in a much bigger role. I mean, that must have been amazing.
It was amazing, and I loved sort of that was the pervasive energy on set. Give me what you got. Do you have anything else?
Right?
Do you have any? That's how David Gordon Green was as well. Like if you wanted to do it, do it. Um, Clint Eastwood the same way. Like so, all these ones are very. But I have been on the sets like you're talking about where you almost feel like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm here. I'll just like say my
Yeah.
line. You
I'll
almost
take their story along. Okay.
and you don't know how to handle that moment. And just remember, this is what I tell, and I've taught a couple of years over at Berkeley, but what I tell the students is that there are no small roles because
Mhm.
this role is here because they couldn't tell this story without this. It doesn't matter which device they're using. It doesn't matter if you are the catalyst for them to change or what, it doesn't matter. They can't tell the story without you being as genuine in this role as you can be. And that's why you were hired. So it's hard to remember that in the moment though, Ian. We've both been there. We talked about
Sure.
this, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
And you just defined our show. There are no small roles. It's important for us as actors to build those credits, also to have that experience. And like you said, the story doesn't move along without us. So
Yeah. You can't tell the story without you.
you just made our advertising clip for this show. Now, before we totally say goodbye, I'm not going to play any more clips. I'm not going to take too many more minutes of your time. Uh, do you have a cherished moment, something that made you proud that you would like to share? Something, anything that sticks with you, a most proud moment or something you really cherish from this business?
Well, there's lots, but a recent one was Brittany Snow, who is everybody knows who Brittany Snow is.
Yeah.
She wrote a movie
Mm-hmm.
called Parachute, and I got to play Courtney Eaton's mom. And Courtney Eaton is she's from Australia, and she was in like Mad Max something or another. She's young, but she's also in Yellow Jackets. Very beautiful actor, and she is beautiful on the outside, but like also on the inside.
Yeah.
Thomas Mann and Courtney Eaton were the stars of this, and there was a scene with her where I was her mom. So I played this really hard-nosed mom, but there was a sort of lovely scene. It's not in the movie, but it was like anyway.
Yeah.
We were doing the scene, and I was explaining why I was the way that I was, and it was sort of a very emotional thing. And so we ran it a couple times, and then when we cut, and people came in and they were sort of redressing, but everybody was crying.
Oh.
And that was sort of, and Courtney, because she was supposed to be, kind of sleeping in it, and then she wakes up. She was like, "That was so lovely." But because I rarely get to play the soft person
Which
on,
is who you are, though. You're such a warm, soft person.
and then to be able to have that, so yeah, I love that. I cherish that moment on set. There's lots that I have, and then two favorite theater projects that I've done. One is Chinglish, and then one is a thing called Grounded. I love that. And then the very last big thing that I did for theater was called Tiny Beautiful Things, and I loved. I was sort of it's Cheryl Strayed is who I played
This got a lot of attention, right? You got some really nice write-ups for this one.
Yeah, I got it went
Nice
to
reviews.
award season, and I did well. But I think what I love about acting, and I love now being able to balance film, television, and theater. What I love about that is the depth that I get to go to with certain characters, and I just hope that I get to do more of that on film, like consecutively. That's the hope.
Now, putting that into the ether, are there any a dream co-star, dream director, a dream role that you have to give you those opportunities? Is there?
I don't know that. I feel like it hasn't. Okay, there's a play called Stage Kiss, and I remember I was the titular character, and people were like, especially the opening scene, they're like, "Oh my, did somebody write this for you?" It's a play by Sarah Rule, and it's just one of those roles that it just fits you. So I don't know what's being written. I mean, I know certain actors that probably most everybody wants to act with, right? Like Cillian Murphy, or
Sure. Or work with Spielberg as director or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody has somebody like that.
Mhm.
I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's there. I don't know how I will get connected to that, but I'm going to sort of try to trust and believe, and in the meantime do all of the things that feel right for me.
And ride that wave. What do you have before we say goodbye? What do you have coming up? Anything you want to promote? Or?
Oh, yeah. So I'm in a new series. It's an Amazon series. I think there's 8 episodes.
Okay.
I think there's 8 episodes. I'm doing ADR for it tomorrow, and I play. Don't be surprised.
A cop.
A cop.
Yes.
I'm a cop. It's a show called Obsession, and I will be.
And that's can you say who's producing that? I think isn't it a horror thing?
It's a blue.
I don't want to give away anything you're not allowed to give away.
I don't know. No, I think they want us to do that, but it's Blumhouse. It's under the Blumhouse, umbrella. But
it's not overtly horror.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's like it's based on the book 56 Days.
And what happens in the very last episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good answer.
But actually, I will say this part. It's funny because it was written about Ireland.
Okay.
But they set it in Boston Seaport, but it was filmed out of the country. So
that's cool. Anything else that coming up, or we'll leave it at that?
We'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you, Celeste Oliva, for being on our very first episode of No Small Parts. For the humans out there, not to say you're not human, Celeste, please like, comment, share with your friends, and come back for our next episode. Thank you, Celeste. Here's our amazing theme song by Joe. Stick around, Celeste.
Plum lights up, cameras roll, step on set.